Hey, what's up, guys? This is Richard again for another edition of Learning with Rich. It's been a long time since I created my last video, and I'm very glad that I'm back doing again this kind of exercise. Alright, so in this exercise, I'm going to teach you how to add 2D annotations to a detailed view. Okay, so I'm going to teach you how to use the 2D tools in Revit structure. Okay, so in this exercise, I'm going to add 2D annotations to my detailed view. Okay, it happens most of the time because even though we can easily create section in Revit, okay, so there are instances that the details are not enough for us to show what we really want to show to our client. That's why we are adding details. So in order for us to do that, so instead of doing the model very detailed, the 3D model, so we just use a 2D annotation, okay, which is pretty useful. So we will be using the tools that we will be getting from the Annotate tab. All right, so let's get started. So in this view, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a detail line. Okay, so this is the detail line. Okay, so you can also type DL. So as you can see, the definition, it creates a view specific lines. So detail lines are visible only in the view in which they are drawn. Okay, so detail line is different from model line, because model line you can also see that in 3D view. Okay, but if you only want to create a line for your detailing that will appear only in the view where you have drawn it, so you can use detail line. All right, so I'm going to select the detail line here, and then from the line style, so I'm going to change the line style to hidden lines. Okay, so I select the hidden lines, and then I'm just make sure that the chain here is unchecked. All right, so I'm going to add an offset distance here of 6 mm. Okay, so I'll start creating here. So I'm going to click this one. Okay, so just above this tick line, floor represented by this tick line. So I'm going to pick here. There you go. Okay, then I'm going to create here also. So these lines that I'm creating, it represents the hidden faces in the metal deck layer of the floor. Okay, so that's the reason why I'm creating these two lines here. So that's the representation. It's hidden faces in the metal deck of the floor. Okay, there you go. So after that, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch a steel plate. Okay, so let's say I want to represent my steel plate in 2D drawing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is from the I select modify to terminate the tool. Okay, so going to the modify, there is this panel here, the view panel. So you can see here line work. So I'm going to select the line work here to modify the line style representing the edge of the steel beam. Okay, so where's that? So let me just change first the style here. So let's say I'm going to select here hidden. So this is the hidden. Alright, so I'm going to change this one. So I'm going to click this. There you go. And I'm going to click this also. There you go. Okay, so let's say for example, it represents the edge of the steel beam. Okay. Now, after that, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to activate again my detail line. So I select the detail line here. Okay, and this time I'm going to create the rectangle. I'm going to use the rectangle tool, okay, to draw the connection plate. Okay, and for this one, I'll just use thin lines. All right, so I'm going to pick the thin lines. Okay, and then I'm going to click the midpoint here, this one. So I'm going to click this, right? And then I'm going to move my pointer to the lower right. So I'm gonna select, I'm just going to make sure that the wide here is 125. Okay, 125. And then the height is about 370. All right. Okay, so wide 125 and 370 long. So I'm going to pick now. All right, there you go. Okay, it will represent my steel plate. So I'm going to modify that. So I select modify to terminate it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the position of the detail lines in my view. So I'm gonna select all the four lines. If you're having a difficulty selecting the face here, only these lines. So make sure select elements by face here is unchecked. All right, so that when you pick here, it will not select this face. Okay. All right. So I just select. Or another tip is you can move your cursor over the line. Do not select. You just move your pointer over the line, and then you just need to press the tab once. There you go. So once you see it highlights, so you just need to select that to select the four lines. Okay. But then again, if you're having a difficulty, just use the window selection. Okay, so after you select the four lines there, so I'm going to select here, activate the dimension. Okay, so I'm just going to change the position. So activate dimension, okay, and then you can see the dimension here. I'll just change this to 50. There you go. Okay, and then I'm going to add bolts to the plate. Okay, to add bolts to the plate, again, it's just a 2D drawing. So from the annotate tab, component, so there's this repeating detail component. All right, so I select that, and then from my properties, I'm gonna make sure that A35, A325 15 mm plan is selected. Okay, and then after that, all right, I'll use the peak lines here, and then add an offset distance of 30. Okay, so peak lines offset is 30. Okay, and then in my view, I'm going to move my cursor to the left of this line. So I'm gonna pick. There you go. All right, and then I select here modify. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the repeating detail that I just created. I'm going to move it down. So I select that, and then I activate the move tool, and then I'm gonna make sure that the disjoint here is checked. Okay, so I can move my repeating detail. So I'm going to move it down. So you just need to make sure this is checked to adjust the relative placement of items in my repeating detail. So I'm going to pick here as my base point, move my cursor down, and then I'm going to key in 30. There you go. Okay, and then I'm going to select this dot here. So instead of 370, so I'm going to click this dot. I'm just going to reposition. So I'm going to make it 300. And then I release my left click. All right, there you go. So I select modify here. So the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to group it. Okay, so in AutoCAD, you have the group command, right? So also here in Revit. So I'm going to select the rectangle and then the repeating details. Okay, and then the group tool can be found from your create panel. So you can see here the create group, or you can also type GP. So you select this one, and then you just need to specify the name. Okay, so let's say I'm going to call it beam to column connection. All right, so connection. So I select here. Okay, there you go. So after you create a group in your project, you can find it now here. From the project browser, you see there's the groups there. So this is the one that I created. So in this exercise, there is a new group, or there is already a group that we are going to use later on. So every time you create a group, it will be placed here under the groups. Okay, so if you want to place it again, a copy of the group, you just drag and drop inside your project, or you can just right click and then you can select create instance. All right. Okay, anyway, so after I create the group, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to mirror this group to the other side. So you just need to select the group and then you click pick axis, you click that, and then I'm going to pick this line here. There you go. All right. Then select modify. There you go. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add bolts. Okay. So I'm going to add bolts in my project. Okay, so to do that, so from the project browser, so I'm going to use this plate and 5 bolts in section. So I just right click this and then I select create instance. So I click this. Okay, and then I'm going to click this one. Remember the first line that you created, so I'm going to pick the midpoint of that to place my bolt. So I click. There you go. Okay, very nice. So that's my vault. So I select now modify to terminate it. See? So little by little, we are adding details to our somewhat dull section. Now it's already detailed. Okay, so after we add detail components from the Annotate tab. So the next thing that I'm going to do, so let's say I want to add a weld symbol. So again, from the Annotate, so this time there's this symbol here. So I'm going to select the symbol. I click this one. Okay, again from the properties. So I'm going to make sure that both is selected. Okay, weld symbol both. Okay, so where am I going to put that? So I'm just going to put it here, the weld symbol. There you go. And then I select modify. Okay, so the exact placement is not critical. Now I'm going to select the weld symbol and then I'm going to add a leader line. So I select that and then from the leader panel, so there's the add leader tool. So I'm going to click this. There you go. Okay, and then I'm going to drag this. So I'm going to place it here. Okay. And then I'm just going to I'm going to modify the properties here. Okay, so from the text, where's my text? Okay, text. All right, so this one, so I just put the text here. So I'm going to select the tail note visible. So I just check that one. And then for the text note, I'm going to add typ dot typical. Okay, and then apply. There you go. See? So basically, that's how you add details to your section view, callout view, or detail view. Okay? Because just like what I've said, so if once you create the section, the details are not complete, so you can still add details. This time you can add 2D drawings. Okay, so you can go to the Annotate tab, and then from here you'll be able to use some of the tools that is very useful for you to add details in your project. Okay. All right, so that's for this today's exercise. So hope you enjoyed the video. So if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can just put it on the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And you can also download the exercise file of this exercise. I'm going to include that to the video description. Okay? And once again, this is Richard from Learning with Rich. Have a good day.